Walking through a modern grocery store is, well, an experience of incredible abundance. Yet it is also a curated one. The apples are perfectly round and uniformly red. The carrots are consistently orange and straight. The tomatoes are bred to travel thousands of miles without a blemish. While this consistency is convenient, it really represents a narrowing of our agricultural heritage. Generations ago, the American garden and table were far more diverse. They were filled with produce of every shape, color, and flavor imaginable. These were the heirloom varieties, seeds passed down through families and communities, each with a unique story and a distinct taste of place. It was a time when a tomato wasn't just a tomato. It was a brandy wine, a mortgage lifter, or a black crim. These heirloom crops were the backbone of American home cooking. They were selected and saved for their superior flavor, their resilience in a specific local climate, or their unique suitability for canning, drying, or pickling. A trip to a great-grandmother's root cellar would reveal a kaleidoscope of colors and textures that are rare today. There were purple carrots, knobby potatoes, and beans with speckled coats like tiny works of art. These vegetables weren't just food, they were a living connection to the past, a tangible piece of family history cultivated year after year. The flavors were often more intense, more complex, and more memorable than what we find on supermarket shelves today. This was the taste of self-sufficiency and seasonal living. The shift away from these treasured varieties was gradual, driven by the profound changes of the 20th century. As agriculture became industrialized, the focus moved from flavor and local adaptation to traits that favored mass production and long-distance shipping. Uniformity became king. Crops needed to ripen all at once for mechanical harvesters. They needed thick skins to withstand the bumps and bruises of transit. They needed a long shelf life to sit in warehouses and on store displays. These new priorities, while economically efficient, came at a cost. The delicate, thin-skinned tomato with its explosive flavor or the corn with its tender, sweet kernels could not compete in this new system. And so, many of these old favorites began to disappear. They vanished from seed catalogs, from farm fields, and ultimately from our collective memory. They became agricultural ghosts, their stories whispered only by a few dedicated seed savers and home gardeners who remembered how good they could be. But a good thing is hard to keep down forever. Today, there is a growing movement to rediscover these lost treasures. People are once again seeking out the rich flavors, the unique colors, and the compelling stories of heirloom crops. It is a return to a more flavorful and diverse way of eating, a way of reconnecting with our agricultural roots and preserving a vital piece of our heritage for the future. The tomato aisle today is a sea of red, but it wasn't always so. Consider the mortgage lifter tomato, a massive pinkish-red heirloom with a legendary backstory. Developed in the 1930s by a West Virginia radiator repairman named M.C. Biles, it was so popular that he sold his seedlings for $1 each and paid off his $6,000 mortgage in just 6 years. People loved its sheer size, often weighing over 2 pounds, and its meaty texture with few seeds, making it perfect for slicing onto sandwiches. It fell out of favor because its massive, irregular shape and thin skin made it impossible to pack and ship efficiently. Modern, perfectly round, thick-skinned hybrids simply fit the commercial mold better, even if they lacked the mortgage lifter's rich, low-acid flavor. Then there is the green zebra tomato, a stunning fruit that looks like a work of modern art. It is small, round, and covered in beautiful chartreuse and deep lime stripes. When ripe, it has a tangy, almost citrusy flavor that is completely different from a standard red tomato. It was a favorite in home gardens and at farmers markets for its beauty and its zesty taste, which brightens up any salad. However, its greatest asset was also its downfall in a commercial sense. Consumers, conditioned to see red as the color of ripeness, were often confused by the green zebra. Was it ready to eat? Its inability to signal ripeness in a conventional way made it a risky choice for large-scale grocery stores aiming for quick and easy sales. Corn, another American staple, has also seen its diversity dwindle. Stowell's evergreen sweet corn was once the gold standard for home gardeners in the late 19th century. It was prized for its ability to stay sweet and tender on the stalk for an extended period, an evergreen quality that was perfect for a family garden where you couldn't harvest everything at once. Its kernels were white and incredibly creamy. The rise of modern super-sweet yellow hybrids, bred for an exceptionally high sugar content and a longer post-harvest shelf life, pushed varieties like Stowell's aside. These new hybrids could be shipped and stored for longer, and their intense sweetness appealed to the modern palate, overshadowing the classic creamy corn flavor of older varieties. Finally, we have the majestic bloody butcher corn. This is not a sweet corn, but a dent corn, named for its striking deep red kernels that look as if they've been spattered with blood. For generations, it was a staple for making incredibly flavorful and visually stunning cornmeal, grits, and corn flour. Its rich, nutty flavor was far superior to the blandness of commodity yellow dent corn. As industrial milling operations grew, they standardized their equipment for the uniform, high-yield yellow corn varieties. The niche, colorful bloody butcher with its lower yields per acre was deemed inefficient for the massive scale of modern food production, and its beautiful, flavorful meal became a rarity. Long before the uniform orange carrot became the only option, gardens were filled with a rainbow of roots. The Paris market carrot, also known as the Tonda di Parigi, is a perfect example. This is a small, round, almost radish-shaped carrot that is incredibly sweet and tender. It was a favorite in 19th century France and America, especially for gardeners with heavy clay soil where longer carrots struggled to grow. Its small, globe-like shape made it quick to mature and perfect for container gardening. Its decline came with the demand for uniformity. Mechanical harvesters and processing plants were designed for long cylindrical carrots that could be easily peeled and chopped by machine, rendering the charmingly round Paris market obsolete. The potato world was once far more colorful, too. The ozette potato, also called the maca ozette, has a fascinating history. This long, finger-like tuber with lumpy skin and creamy yellow flesh was brought to the Pacific Northwest from South America by Spanish explorers in the late 1700s. It was cultivated for centuries by the Maca Nation in Washington state. It has a unique, nutty and earthy flavor and a firm, waxy texture that is wonderful when roasted. It was abandoned by mainstream agriculture because of its irregular, knobby shape, which is difficult to peel with machines, and its lower yield compared to modern russets or Yukon golds. Its survival is owed entirely to the Maca people who preserved it. Another forgotten root is salsify, sometimes called the oyster plant. This long, slender, parsnip-like root has a subtle and surprising flavor that, when cooked, is often compared to that of oysters. It was a popular winter vegetable in Victorian times, often used in creamy soups, stews, or simply boiled and served with butter. Salsify requires a bit more effort to prepare. Its skin must be peeled, and the white flesh can discolor if not placed in acidulated water. As consumers began to favor more convenient, ready-to-use vegetables, the extra preparation steps for salsify caused it to fall out of fashion. The simple, easy-to-peel potato and carrot won the battle for convenience. Finally, let's remember the purple-top white globe turnip. For much of American history, this was the turnip. It has a beautiful appearance with a bright purple top where it was exposed to the sun and a creamy white bottom. It has a crisp, slightly spicy flavor when raw and becomes sweet and tender when cooked. It was a staple food, especially in the South, valued for its ability to grow quickly in the cool seasons and store well through winter. The turnip's general decline in popularity is tied to changing tastes. It was often seen as a food of hardship or poverty, and as incomes rose, people moved toward what they perceived as more sophisticated vegetables like broccoli or asparagus, leaving the humble, reliable turnip behind. The world of lettuce was once far more varied than the familiar iceberg and romaine. One lost favorite is the deer tongue lettuce. Named for its pointed, triangular leaves that resemble a deer's tongue, this heirloom has a wonderfully rich, slightly nutty flavor, and a texture that is both crisp and buttery. It is a loose-leaf variety that is very easy to grow and is cut and come again, meaning you can harvest the outer leaves while the plant continues to produce more from the center. It fell from grace with the advent of long-distance shipping. Its delicate leaves don't hold up well to packing and transport, and it doesn't form the tight, durable heads that supermarkets prefer. Another forgotten green is auroch, also known as mountain spinach. Available in vibrant shades of red, green, and gold, auroch was cultivated as early as ancient Greece and was a common potherb in American colonial gardens. Its leaves are soft, arrow-shaped, and have a mild, slightly salty flavor similar to spinach, but with a wonderful quality. It is much more tolerant of heat and less likely to bolt in summer. Auroch was pushed aside by the sheer agricultural dominance of spinach. As large-scale farms focused on a single, highly marketable green, spinach received all the breeding attention and marketing dollars, leaving the equally delicious and more resilient auroch to languish in obscurity. In the cabbage family, the walking stick cabbage, or Jersey cabbage, is a true spectacle. This plant can grow to astonishing heights, sometimes reaching over 10 feet tall. In the Channel Islands, where it originated, the woody stalks were dried, varnished, and turned into fashionable walking canes. The leafy tops were fed to livestock. While the leaves are edible for humans, its primary value was its novelty and its use for canes and animal fodder. It was abandoned because it is simply not practical for modern food production. It takes a long time to mature and produces far fewer edible leaves for its size than a compact, modern cabbage head, making it a very inefficient use of garden space. Let us not forget the fish pepper, a fascinating and beautiful chili. This heirloom was treasured in the African American communities around Baltimore and Philadelphia in the 19th and early 20th centuries. The plant itself is gorgeous, with variegated green and white leaves. The peppers are even more stunning, starting as creamy white, then turning light green, orange, and finally deep red, often with all colors on the plant at once. It was the secret ingredient in many oyster and crab houses, where the creamy white, immature peppers were used to make a hot white paprika that wouldn't discolor the cream sauces. It nearly went extinct as these culinary traditions faded, and it was saved from oblivion by seed savers who recognized its unique history and culinary value. Beans are, a cornerstone of agriculture, but honestly, many unique varieties have been lost to time. The Cherokee Trail of Tears. Bean is a pole bean with a really poignant and powerful story. It was actually carried by the Cherokee people during their forced removal from their ancestral lands in the 1830s, a journey known as the Trail of Tears. The bean itself is a beautiful, shiny black bean that's tender and flavorful. You can eat it as a green bean when it's young or as a dry bean once it's mature. Its historical significance is just immense, representing resilience and survival. It was never a commercial crop. Its survival depended entirely on families and communities passing the seeds down, a living monument to their history that was, ignored by industrial agriculture. Another legume with a rich past is the Sea Island red pea. This one was a culinary star in the low-country cuisine of South Carolina and Georgia. It's a small, reddish-brown field pea with a delicate, creamy texture and a rich, nutty flavor that's far more complex than your standard black-eyed pea. It was a key ingredient in traditional pilaus and other regional dishes. The decline of the Sea Island red pea is tied to the collapse of the plantation-based agricultural system after the Civil War. As farming practices changed and people moved away from rural areas, the cultivation of these specific regional crops dwindled, and they were replaced by higher-yielding, more common pea varieties. In the world of grains, Sonoran white wheat was once the dominant wheat grown across the American Southwest and northern Mexico. Introduced by Spanish missionaries in the 17th century, this soft white wheat is perfectly adapted to arid climates. It has a unique, slightly sweet and buttery flavor, and is prized for making those large, soft, and pliable flour tortillas that are a hallmark of the region's cuisine. The Green Revolution of the mid-20th century introduced new, high-yield, rust-resistant dwarf wheat varieties. These new grains, while productive, just lacked the specific flavor and texture of Sonoran white, but their efficiency led to the near-total abandonment of the heirloom grain by large-scale farmers. Finally, consider Jimmy red corn, a dent corn that was once famous throughout the South Carolina Sea Islands for making exceptional moonshine. It was known for its smooth, rich character and a distinct nutty sweetness in the final product. By the early 2000s, it was believed to be extinct, a casualty of the decline of small-scale traditional distilling. The entire variety was brought back from the brink by a single farmer who had been given the last 2 ears. Its story is one of near-total loss and dramatic recovery, driven by chefs and distillers who recognized that its superior flavor, while not suited for industrial commodity production, was perfect for high-quality artisanal products. The apple orchard of the past, honestly, was a library of flavors, and many of its volumes are now out of print. The Newtown Pippin apple is a perfect example. Discovered in Queens, New York in the 18th century, this greenish-yellow apple was one of America's first great exports. It was a favorite of both George Washington and Thomas Jefferson. It has a complex, crisp, and tangy flavor that actually improves with storage, making it a perfect winter keeper. It was abandoned by commercial growers because, it can be a difficult tree to cultivate, prone to disease, and its appearance, often lopsided and greenish even when ripe, was deemed less attractive than the perfectly round, bright red apples that came to dominate the market. Another casualty of modern aesthetics is the black Oxford apple. Originating in Maine around 1790, this apple is stunning, with a deep, dark, purple-black skin that's almost unheard of today. Inside, the flesh is crisp, white, and has a wonderful sweet-tart balance. It's an excellent all-purpose apple, good for eating fresh, for cider, and for pies, and it stores exceptionally well, often lasting until spring in a root cellar. Its downfall was purely cosmetic. In a marketplace that equates apple with red or green, the dark, mysterious black Oxford just looked too different. Supermarkets, fearing consumers would be hesitant to try it, opted for more familiar-looking varieties. Pears, too, have seen their diversity shrink. The Seckel pear is a tiny, bite-sized pear that's bursting with an intensely sweet, spicy, and aromatic flavor. It's often called a sugar pear. Thomas Jefferson grew them at Monticello, proclaiming them to be the finest pear he had ever tasted. Because of their small size, they were often used for pickling, canning whole, or as a dessert pear. The commercial pear industry, however, prioritized size. Larger pears like the Bartlett or Anjou were more profitable because they were sold by weight and were easier to process. The diminutive but delicious Seckel was left behind as an unprofitable curiosity. Let's not forget the damson plum. These small, tart, oval-shaped plums have a deep blue-black skin and a rich, astringent flavor that makes them unsuitable for eating fresh. However, when cooked, they are transformed. Their high pectin and acid content make them absolutely perfect for creating intensely flavorful jams, jellies, and preserves with a beautiful deep color. As home canning and preserving became less common, and as consumers began to prefer sweet, fresh-eating plums, the damson lost its purpose. Why grow a plum you couldn't eat right off the tree? Its specialized culinary use became its weakness in an age of fresh convenience. Some forgotten crops are, well, simply too unique for the modern, streamlined food system. Take the ground cherry, also known as the husk tomato or Cape gooseberry. These small, sweet tart fruits grow inside a papery husk, much like a tomatillo. When ripe, they fall to the ground and have a flavor that's a delightful mix of pineapple, tomato, and vanilla. They were a common treat in 19th century gardens, often used in pies, jams, or just eaten fresh as a snack by children. Their decline is really a matter of labor. The process of waiting for the fruit to drop and then removing each one from its husk is time-consuming and just not suited for mechanical harvesting, making them commercially unviable. Another fascinating vegetable is the cardoon, a close relative of the artichoke. Instead of eating the flower bud, you eat the thick, fleshy leaf stalks. To prepare them, the stalks are traditionally blanched, while still growing, by wrapping them to block out the sun, which makes them tender and less bitter. They have a complex artichoke-like flavor and were considered a delicacy in European and early American cuisine, often braised or fried. The cardoon requires significant effort, both in the garden and in the kitchen. As lifestyles quickened, consumers lost the patience for such a high-maintenance vegetable, opting for simpler, more straightforward options. Then there's the glass gem corn, a variety that looks like a strand of jewels. Each ear is unique, with kernels that shimmer in an incredible array of translucent colors: pink, purple, blue, green, and yellow. It's a flint corn, meaning the kernels are very hard and are used for making cornmeal, popcorn, or simply for decoration. It was rediscovered and popularized in recent years after a photo went viral online. It was never a mainstream crop because it was bred for beauty, not for the high-yield soft kernel traits needed for industrial food products like corn syrup or animal feed. Its value lies in its breathtaking appearance, a trait not measured by commercial agriculture. Finally, we have the lemon cucumber. This heirloom is not a hybrid but a true cucumber that grows to be the size, shape, and color of a lemon. It has a thin, tender skin that doesn't require peeling, and its flavor is exceptionally mild, sweet, and crisp, with no bitterness. It was a popular novelty in home gardens for its delightful appearance and easy-to-eat nature. However, in the commercial world, the long, green, uniform cucumber became the standard. The lemon cucumber's round shape made it awkward to pack and ship efficiently, and its pale yellow color confused consumers who expected their cucumbers to be green. Its delightful quirkiness became its commercial failing. The stories of these 20 crops are, honestly, more than just nostalgic tales of forgotten flavors. They're a powerful reminder of the incredible agricultural biodiversity we've lost. When we lose an heirloom variety, we lose more than just a tasty tomato or a colorful corn. We lose the genetic information encoded within its seeds, information about drought resistance, pest tolerance, and adaptation to specific local climates. This genetic library, built over centuries by countless farmers and gardeners, is an invaluable resource. In an era of climate change and evolving agricultural challenges, the traits hidden in these old seeds might hold the keys to developing the resilient crops of the future. Preserving heirloom varieties is also about preserving our culinary and cultural history. The Cherokee Trail of Tears. Bean is not just a legume, it's a story of survival. The Sea Island red pea is a taste of low-country history. These crops connect us to the people, places, and traditions that came before us. Cooking with them is a way to experience history on our plates, to understand the flavors that defined a region or sustained a community. By letting these varieties disappear, we erase a part of our shared heritage, simplifying our cuisine and weakening our connection to the food we eat and the stories it tells. Furthermore, the revival of heirloom crops offers a delicious rebellion against the homogenization of our food supply. It champions flavor over shelf life, diversity over uniformity, and quality over mere quantity. When you bite into a Brandywine tomato or a black Oxford apple, you taste something unique and complex, a flavor profile that has been deliberately bred out of many modern commercial hybrids. This pursuit of flavor encourages a return to seasonal and local eating, supporting small farmers and strengthening local food systems. It reminds us that food should be a source of genuine pleasure and discovery, not just convenient fuel. Ultimately, caring about heirloom crops is an act of stewardship. It's a commitment to ensuring that the agricultural richness we inherited is not lost on our watch. By seeking out these old varieties, planting them in our gardens, buying them at farmers markets, and asking for them from local growers, we become active participants in their preservation. We are not just cultivating vegetables, we are cultivating resilience, history, and flavor. We're ensuring that the garden of tomorrow is as rich, diverse, and full of stories as the garden of yesterday. It's a good thing for our plates, our planet, and our future.